Spring, summer, fall, seasons change, we still keep it together.
Hey Beverly Hills 90210 fans, are you ready to dive deep, episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code, with your hosts, Charles Rosen.
Did I say that?
Yeah. Harry
This
Mullen.
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero.
I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush-worthy.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah. Everybody dance now.
Okay, Larry. No one's going to be on the show today. It's just me and you. No, just everybody's tuning off immediately. No, this is a big show. It's very exciting. We're covering Lost in Las Vegas. Everybody is going to be with us in a second, but me and you have a lot of business to get to. Okay.
Sounds grim.
It's like I just invited you into the offices at Fox.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but here's the deal. So we're getting very close on this America zip code thing. We are only missing 2 states now. I'm still every week I wait for Steve Karnecki to show up with the big board.
With the big board, I know.
But we're only waiting for Montana and Wyoming.
I kind of feel like it's a Brokeback Mountain kind of thing, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of a let's go. Come on, Wyoming. I actually have some friends who know people in Jackson Hole that are queering people there.
Okay.
And also in Bozeman. So I'm trying, and I'm stalking the Facebook pages. You're from Bozeman and I haven't gotten any hooks yet, but I'm like a deranged person on Facebook to get these. But
right.
I realize the whole month of October is a festival of fans united in the love of this show, which, its 31st anniversary is October 4th.
That's right.
And we're going to celebrate all month with fan-oriented shows.
So if you're in Montana or if you're in Wyoming, sorry, but we really need you, and we need you to come on to this podcast and listen. We're going to throw if anyone from Montana and Wyoming come on, we're going to throw a big surprise at you. I don't know what that is yet. I don't know. Yeah, but so just get on it. Yeah.
Well, Pete, there's one important fact we should always remember that I'm pretty certain. When Beverly Hills 90210 premiered, it was on Fox, which did not have 100% coverage in the United States.
Right.
Only a lot of stations opted out for this strange kind of edgy network. And for all we know, there was no first generation 90210 watchers in Wyoming and Montana. People would have had to discover the show later on. So we are being handicapped in that part of the world.
I do want.
That's why we need them more. We need them more now. People got to help us out. If you know anyone in these states, let's just talk to them.
Come on, let's get it together, guys. Please. I mean, we really need some help. I mean, you're all so lovely and wonderful every week. Can you find someone from Montana? Just do what Larry's doing. Just help us that way. I want to also let you know, Larry, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the 9021 Bro is back. Darren Martin, our friend, is back.
We would be nowhere without Darren. Darren started this whole. We look at the show movement. I mean, he is a prince.
Did so much for this podcast. He did so much for me. So I'm so glad that he's back in action. Follow him on Instagram. Let's get his account back up and rocking. Now,
Absolutely.
Okay, there's more. Next week, we want to preview the zip code show, so we didn't want to dive into a heavy topic. There's still many shows that we can cover, but so we're going to do the After Dark Live. We usually do this after the show, although we're not doing it tonight, but we usually do it after the show. And so we're going to let our Patreons come on and be a panel here. If you're not on our Patreon and you want to be on next week, you can do this. Go to Patreon and sign up, and then you can be on our show next week. So 2 weeks in a row, fan-centric sort of things. Yeah. We felt badly because none of our Patreons are going to be on the Zip Code show, so we wanted to give you guys a platform to come on and talk. And the topic for next week we'll have a big round table. It's going to be the best couple or the greatest couple of 90210. It could be Donna and David. It could be Brenda and Dylan. It could be Brandon and Kelly. It could be any of the couples that were on the show. So that should be fun. Yes. Okay.
I think so. And again, it's after dark. There's an atmosphere. We'll probably be wearing bathrobes. It's a different look. You're getting a chance to see what happens after the show.
Absolutely.
I'll probably be imbibing something.
Now, I want to say also, we do have merch, Zip Code store merch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's okay, but it's this Spreadshirt or the place where it has it in review. So I'm not able to share a link. I'm not able to do any of that. It's very frustrating, but it will be available in a day or so. We think you should really get that and wear that stuff.
I am on it.
And also, here's an old ad, and then we'll bring everybody back on, and we're going to cover Lost in Las Vegas. That was a lot.
Okay. Do you know we have even more new shirts and merchandise at Beverly Hills 90210showshop.com? For instance, watch our Planet 90210 show with some sick Planet 90210 merch. Or want to celebrate at the Peach Pit? Check out this new shirt with a photo from Jill Henkel's collection. Or, oh my God, I know Claire Arnold fans are going to love this one. A little sex, rock, and really decent literature. Plus, for all you Larry Mullen fans, that's right, a Get Outta Here shirt. And don't forget about our classic designs. We keep loading it up with more items each week, so head over to Beverly Hills 90210showshop.com for all your 90210 stuff.
Okay, so we have our panel of experts here to talk about this big episode, Lost in Las Vegas. Michael Lange, the director of the episode, it's so good to see you, man. How have you been?
I have been good. It's always fun to do this show because I get to reminisce about the good old days.
Yeah. And it seems like there was a lot of moving parts. They always like to throw the moving parts at Michael Lange here.
Evidently.
Yes. And of course, Allison Smith, who was Melanie in this episode. Really great storyline. I mean, you've been in so many incredible things, and I know Larry and I want to touch upon them through this podcast, but you were Annie, and you were on the West Wing, and you've done so many awesome things. So it's good to see you. How are things with you?
Everything is really good. Thank you. Really good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. And of course, our good old friend, Erin Clements. I never referred to anybody as a good old friend before. But you are that. And from the Today Show, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to talk about a David-centric episode since this was Brian's big week, with the Dancing with the Stars premiere.
Yes. Oh, I do want to mention that. Thank you, Erin, for the hot tag there. And that's a wrestling term. Yeah, Brian is on Dancing with the Stars. Look, we want everybody to go out and vote, whatever that is, on Monday. Follow the text thread, watch the show, support him and Sharna. They're really rocking it. So make sure you guys go out and do that, obviously. Okay, Larry, let's go back to the beginning of this Lost in Las Vegas. We like to start with the writing of this. How did it come to be that we would have David in Las Vegas?
Well, this was a sweeps episode. And also a sweeps episode, which is a sore spot of mine. It was on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So we know we're going to be fighting because our audience is basically driving back from college, our original audience. And, that's how it worked out. Mm-hmm. But so we needed to pump it up. And we had been leading to some of David's mental instability and, through his mother and just, a lot of other things. And now he's inherited a lot of money and a car, a great car, right, Michael?
Definitely.
It was a 62 red T-Bird, and it looked great. Thank you for filming it. Looking at it again, I just remember now. When I went to high school and I graduated in '64, my friend who was obviously wealthy had a 62 T-Bird like that, and so I would get to be a shotgun in that car from my whole senior year. But anyway, so we in writing this was written by Steve Wasserman, who was someone who. Look, it's not a secret. He brought a lot of the mental stuff was personal to him because he struggled with a condition of, I guess you call bipolar himself. Yeah. And so it was a very personal episode to him, and I think we kind of all put together. I must admit, was it a double up, Michael? You think?
I don't remember if it was a double.
I thought it was because of the nature of Brandon being isolated in his own story. Like he doesn't go to Vegas.
Maybe
right. I couldn't tell. And
I know usually the double ups weren't as complex as this one was, though.
Yeah, you might be right because And one thing I wanted to know also, just before we get too deep into it, this was shot at the Hollywood Park Casino.
Correct. Yep.
Anyway, so the idea was we were able to harvest some good storylines and also do some work to. We knew we were going to write Ray off the show, finally off the show, and try to give him a soft landing after, kind of hurting his career terribly by making him an abusive boyfriend. Anyway, so we've been over that, and we've moved on.
Yeah.
And we actually have Michael Zach Throne is going to reflect on that later as a really close friend of Jamie. What happened at that time? Because Zach was with him, and this was the last episode of Jamie Walter as Ray Pruitt. Other than the reboot the kids did a couple of years ago, where they did a good job of rehabilitating him. But, we were able to harvest a lot of the stuff there and have a little bit of fun also with Steve and Claire, which is one of the great couples, I think. And it's that classic couple where you have the overeducated girl who's so smart, and then she loves this good-hearted hunk who's dumb, basically, and will always make the wrong choice. So it's a great scene in that too. And then we get to play out this terrible kind of nightmare before the Hangover movies were ever written about David getting taken and fleeced in Vegas. So we had some promotable elements. Is I guess what I'm saying is we needed something to pump up the volume for the sweeps. And sweeps, if you don't understand, is when the television stations set the advertising prices, and those happened in November, in February, and May, and those are the money balls of television production.
I want to say, you just mentioned Claire. I mean, as Claire, I must immediately start the episode by saying, how incredible did Claire look in this episode, right? I mean, this is some of her finest stuff, and I love what you guys did with Claire here, and we will definitely talk about that later on. But I want to talk with you, Michael. There was a lot of things happening in this episode. So once again, it's season 7. You'd think to yourself, like, okay, by this point, they're going to give me something slightly easier. No,
no, I never got the easy ones.
No, it was a 7-day box, and you had to have. Sometimes it was really packed with stuff. Other days it wasn't. But Michael didn't get those. He got the ends of seasons, the beginning of seasons. He got Sweeps Week, and he was a money player for the show.
Yeah. I think we shot 2 days at the Hollywood Park at that casino, which was quite challenging because I'm pretty sure they refused to close down for us. So I think we had a certain section of it, and I had to figure out how to shoot so that we wouldn't see, the real people in there. Mm-hmm. And also because of the nature, there was like security guys everywhere, making sure we didn't steal anything. And so I'm pretty sure there were a lot of logistical issues filming in there. And then also there was some specific, because it was not a Vegas casino. So in order to make it look like a Vegas casino, we had to do quite a bit of creative set dressing to make that all work authentically. And but it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
And for Allison, obviously you have a huge career. You've done a lot of things. Do you remember getting the 90210 job? Do you remember what that process was like for you? I'm sure you auditioned and all that.
I'm sure I auditioned, but I mostly remember that time just as an actor, just in television, wanting to work with Aaron Spelling any chance that you got. And it so happens I ended up after this doing a show called Buddy Pharaoh. That was a short-lived series that Aaron had produced. And so who knows? I mean, I think this may have been a moment where it felt like once you worked with him, he was such a nice man that he remembered you, and he was grateful that you worked hard for him, and he kept you in mind. So I just really remember feeling great about finally getting to work with him.
That was great. And obviously it's interesting, Larry, that storyline is very interesting because it is kind of a part of kept apart from everything else. And we watched it we did the watch long. You looked like you were watching it for the first time, and you don't even recall.
I know. I didn't remember. I didn't remember. I was kind of delighted by it. I'm trying to figure out why we did it. And I think, thinking about how big Michael's show was over the Hollywood Park, again, we produced on a 7-day schedule. So 4 days out, 3 days in.
And there were seven not very long days.
Exactly.
And I think we always kept it. We could not go over, I think it was 12 hours. That was it. Most shows now shoot 14 hours.
We took pride in this, in delivering a shootable show. That's something, I don't know. That was my background, it was in Chuck's background, and Jessica and Steve's. And so we never were late for pages ever. But I think, because we were going to be out so much, we needed something to be on the sets, because we were going to be in Vegas for most of the show. So we invented this storyline, which is in the Peach Pit, and it's in the Walsh House, I think. And that's really it. Is it anyplace else? It's in a hotel at one point, too. Is it
Yeah.
Yeah, because we probably got that at the Hollywood Park Casino, probably, or something near there. And, we would have made a day there. But no, it's very charming. And Allison, is, it was delightful to see you work in it. And you got to work with Jason and who was a good friend of the show and a friend of ours. And what was your experience like working with Jason?
Oh, well, he's lovely and a delight. I think all of your cast members were as a guest star. I think, you always come in wondering, anyone going to talk to you? Anyone going to sit with you at lunch? Or, and having been a regular on a series, you just kind of forget that guest stars might need that moment where you ingratiate themselves to them, because you're just like, in your life and in your dressing room and with your people all the time. So Jason was extraordinarily generous and friendly, and the scenes were very easy. And I don't know how well I did or how well I pulled off what you needed for the moment, but I think portraying a girl from Ohio who landed in LA and had never been there before and got dumped, I think hopefully I just was there to show what a good guy Jason's character was.
Well, I think it was that, and also to reflect on the Kelly Taylor relationship, which, he talks about the other girl. And so we get him a chance. In other words, we always say, sometimes your character is there to serve the story, and that's kind of what we need you to do. And but yeah, Jason also, for better or worse, was our Boy Scout, so to speak, and that was he hated that part. But and I, looking at it again, if I had to rewrite that storyline again, I would not quite have it that way. I would have something a little bit more of a twisting in it, I think. But I did say that during the podcast.
You're very hard on yourself.
Kind of felt like we undershot that a little bit there. Sometimes you got to look at these things. You look at them and you get other ideas.
It's funny you say that, though. I think that's a function of where we are now in television. Because when I was watching it, I hadn't seen it since I shot it. And I was thinking, okay, what's with this girl? There's something that's going to happen. She's, trying to twist something.
She's a grifter.
Yeah. And of course, it turned out she was exactly what she said she was. So, but I think that was more of the time. That's what we kind of enjoyed about television back then.
Oh, yeah, it was an more innocent time. Yeah, I went through the same thing. I said, is she a grifter? I'm trying to remember this story.
Exactly.
No,
and he's so trusting. He just like, stay over at my house. I'm thinking, that could not happen today.
Oh, by the way, look at it.
Write a scene like that today.
No, we're also, jaded. What were you going to say, Allison? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, when I watched, I was surprised at how wholesome the exchange was in every way. But I think we should write like that again.
We should.
I think that I would do that for somebody, and I'm sure 99% of the world would do that for somebody, and we don't have to be suspicious, and people don't need to be a creep everywhere you go.
Right.
So
I would have made it so she gave him something else as important as he gave her. So it was an equal exchange. There was something to me that was unbalanced. That I didn't get. She could have given him advice about the girl or something that I would have added there to just make it a little bit more that, thank God I met this girl. She really, then I would have set something else up. I would have made it an important counter.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah, Steve Wasserman, unfortunately he's passed on.
Justina says,
I can't give him a hard time about it.
Allison looks great in purple, stunning. And we've got a whole bunch of those really nice comments.
Before you go on, I was just thinking, because we're on this storyline, also you're with Joey Tata. Do you remember working with Joey, who played the counterman?
Yes.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, because Joey is really fighting for it right now to stay, above ground.
Erin, I don't even know if you're aware of that, but his daughter Kelly, who's a friend of the show, has mentioned that Joey Tata has Alzheimer's, and he is struggling with that. And so we want to just say that we're supporting and loving him on this show.
I love Joey.
Anything we can do here, of course, we would do. So. But I wanted to go back to something you were talking about, Allison, about coming onto sets and I don't know, not knowing what was going to happen and at this point you had obviously done some television, so maybe you had grown into it. But 90210, I mean, we've talked to people before and they said that coming onto that show could be a little intimidating. The cast could, there maybe sometimes the girls could be cliquey. Perhaps. I'm not saying that. Others have said that on this show. Did you feel any of that? And I guess also, what was it intimidating?
What year was this episode again?
I would say 96 or
97, I think.
97?
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's going to write it in the feed. Yeah.
I think it's 96.
96.
I was just trying to remember where I was in my life, because when you, when you mentioned asking me that, my initial response is, no, I didn't feel intimidated at all. And I felt welcome where I was welcome, and not bothered if I didn't feel welcome. And now that you say what year it was, I just know, I'd just been around a long time. So
let's say you were on Broadway for thousands of shows,
well,
before you were a teenager, as far as I could tell. I mean,
well, I think that when you've been a regular and when you've been a guest star, and those kind of 7 years, I was doing a ton of guest spots, and I think I had just learned not to look for my life in my work. If people were great, but I certainly know how to occupy myself with my own interests in my trailer or dressing room if there was not more there for me. So I found everybody delightful, but I was probably pretty easy to please.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely, the one thing about doing this podcast that's interesting is there are experiences like you had, and then there are experiences that others have had, and there's no way to understand whether it's that person, what they were going through in that time, what the cast was going through at that time. There's a lot of variables that come with a question like that.
Pete, since you've broached this thing here, and Erin, you should get in here too, we might as well just talk about the elephant in the room, which is the Kelly Taylor, Mark Reese storyline.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So we have a situation now.
Revisit it for in case somebody said to me,
did you watch the storyline? Did you watch the episode, Allison? Because
yes,
you can relate to the story, just in terms of other people. We're gonna not tell. I don't, because I'm interested in what Michael's reaction is.
Okay,
but Larry, I think by this time,
let me set it up. Let me set it up because a lot of people don't know what we're talking about. But you've talked about this on the podcast. Sometimes people are watching this podcast for the first time. Larry has shared with us that the character Mark Reese, who's played by Dalton James, started the season that he was going to be a cast member, and then
he was signed for all.
Larry went into his office, to Aaron Spelling's office, and found out he was no longer going to be a cast member due to a kissing problem. We'll leave it there. Is that a fair way of saying it, Larry?
Well, I guess so, because this is an episode where, again, it's isolated. Pretty much Kelly Taylor. She doesn't go to Vegas, right? Yeah, no,
right.
No. And she's basically spends the night at Mark Reese's character, and we believe. I'm not sure now, Michael. When you were shooting this, did you feel these people were uncomfortable together?
I'm going to have to say I do not remember.
Okay, good answer, Michael. Well, anyway, because I can't remember whether it was before we shot this episode
that was very
or
political.
after when Steve Osman and I got marched upstairs to see the Mister, and he explained to us, and again, because we're writing 32 hours a season compared to what they do now, like 8 or 10, and I'm kind of crazy, and we're way ahead in our scripts, probably, so this is, I don't know. And we get told basically that we have to rewrite everything because one of the actors is going to be leaving sooner than we thought. And I think it's actually after this episode, because the episode that he goes away, which I think it's Job, which is like a January episode. So that's like a month away, 4 episodes away. That makes sense. So probably as a result of your episode, Michael, I had to, our lives were we did it, but I mean, it was terrible. And then also having to lose the actor. But what happened is, I call it a kissing problem. Sometimes, when you've been a regular on a show and you have a certain amount of leverage, and again, this was the Wild West as far as actresses and Allison knows this. If it says in the script you're supposed to kiss the guy in the 90s or the 80s, or you're going to kiss him. And this is an episode where they're together and Michael has them cuddling and they're kissing and stuff. Well, anyway, whatever happened there, it changed the course of the show, because he then we had to write him out, pretty quickly.
That's right.
We did it in like 4 episodes. We saved 4.
Well, and you've told this before on this show, but you were told one reason as to why he was.
Yeah. I mean, do I dare share that?
Well, you shared it on this podcast.
Michael, and again, this is, you talk about working for the Mister and what a lovely man he was, but he had another side too, because he's a successful producer. And so he knows that we're running this machine of a show 32 hours a year. He knows we've been working hard, but probably like 10 episodes ahead, as far as the writing goes and approvals and all this stuff. And so he brings us up there.
Mark Reese is going to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole storyline which is going to develop at the end of the season, where Kelly Taylor and Brandon's relationship will probably get back together. Anyway, so we get brought upstairs, and we kind of go in there. We know it's trouble, because why is he calling us up in the morning? And so we're sitting there, and he says, "Oh, we got a problem. I just found out that Dalton James is anti-Semitic."
Oh.
My God.
Steve and I go, "What?" He goes, "I don't know what to do. I think we have to get rid of him." We go, "Yes, of course we're going to get rid of him, but we can't." And we walk out of there, and we go, "He probably just made that up." And I'm positive he's made that up. I'm sure Dalton James is not anti-Semitic. But that was easy. That was an easy way to get us all of a sudden over to his side quickly without having to make a big point of it.
Right.
And that's the kind of manipulation he does.
Right.
And as far as actresses, I want to say one thing to Allison, because he would always say this one thing, which I like. He'd go, "Actresses, you give them shoes and they walk away." That's anyone who was disloyal to him, he'd always say that. You give them shoes and they walk away. So you must have walked away when he gave you shoes.
All right, now, Michael, you have all of that information.
Yes. Now tell us.
We've talked to you on this podcast about. I don't know where you shared it, but you shared about working with Shannon and coming into work one day and not knowing you had heard something in the car or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you've dealt with people leaving and you've dealt with all of this stuff. Are you any more aware of that, what Larry just said to you, that there was this kind of tension on set with Dalton James and
No.
I mean, they're professionals. So, I mean, I'm not totally shocked, but, the outcome was that something happened where, she was just not going to continue in a relationship with this guy. That was not going to happen. And, Mr. Spelling was going to certainly back her on it, and that's what happened. So he had to pay the guy off, and so we went.
Jenny is obviously.
But now I know what happened, because I had usually I wore a big Jewish star to work, and one day it was missing. So now I understand why.
Oh, he couldn't. And you would actually direct with that?
I want to be clear. We don't know.
I don't own a Jewish.
No, we don't know if it's true.
I don't know if this is true.
Like I said, it just shows the the genius of Mr. Spelling to get people to do what he wanted them to do.
We don't know if this is a true story or what it is, but this is what was told to you, and that's what we do here on the podcast is retell the story that came to us. So Dalton James is probably a wonderful human being. He's probably just donated a whole bunch of money.
I'm sure Paul and Paul Wagner, who was our dear producer, was passed away obviously, but I'm sure Paul was given this task of giving the news.
Yes.
And Paul would have found a gentle way to say it because he was a lovely man.
But listen, we don't know what the issue was, but if Jenny Garth is this at this point, she is the star of the show, right? I mean, she is, and if she felt uncomfortable working with an actor, I think it's okay for her to say.
Of course. I mean, again, there was not the things now where they have like a romantic scene coordinator. You're going to kiss her at this angle and all the other stuff that goes on. No, then it was in our gut. I mean, look, you kiss some guys on screen, right, Allison?
It seems archaic. It seems archaic.
But what was your first kiss on screen? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I think it was Ricky Schroeder.
Wow, nice.
Silver
spoons. Good for you. Oh, yeah.
But it's funny to think about in all our lives, in all the different ways of our lives as humans, what has changed over the last 10, 20, 30 years. And it does seem slightly archaic that, actors were just left to figure it out for themselves without much discussion, without, much like a real date. Well, except you have to say the line that comes after the kiss instead of what you may or may not truly want to say. So it does seem slightly slightly archaic and from another time. And people ask me how many shows I did a week when I was in Annie, and I, did they say, because they think that there were like 5 Annies and they split it up because you were too young to do 8 shows a week. So there are a lot of things that I participated in my career that are now archaic.
Not done. So you did the 8 shows a week?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you're a show person. I mean, you're really the highest royalty of that stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
No,
Erin,
so I have to just wonder one thing. So were your parents involved in show business? Or obviously you were growing up in New Jersey.
That's very cool.
for auditions.
We're Bergen County people, Allison.
Bergen County.
Right? And Larry, yes. Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and my parents were long into their marriage and child raising, living a kind of a tough life. My dad worked 3 jobs and they had all these kids and not a lot of money. And then I kind of came and opened my mouth and the rest was history. So they were thrilled and excited. And I think it was a beautiful gift to their lives to have something they never, ever would have dreamed come their way through their child. So they were very supportive, and it affected their lives in probably many inconvenient ways. So, but anyway, that's the story. It was a big surprise to everybody.
Allison, I want to tell you, Kathleen Robertson just texted me and said that you were wonderful, and she thinks that you are a fantastic actor. So
that's so sweet. Why isn't she just on here with us?
Oh, because she just got a lot going on and whatnot. So she just told me to tell you that.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask Erin. Do you have any thoughts here? I mean, you've been waiting in the wings. Do you want to weigh in on the market? Go ahead.
Talk about
I was going to say I had the same reaction that you were saying about Allison's character, where even though I remember what happened, I always have this instinct like, oh, was there some twist where she's lying about the fiance or something? But it was kind of nice because you have the con women and the David storyline, so this kind of balances that out with something wholesome. But I was wondering for Allison, is there anything that you learned from your time on 90210 or kind of like took from the set that influenced your future work?
I think I witnessed good work ethic and you guys already discussed it, how 12 hours, how work can be good work and not be labored, and that there can be a great environment and you can still get a 12-hour turnaround. So I think I was probably just impressed by its professionalism, but I think it had a reputation of that after 7 seasons as an actor, auditioning for, to be on it at some point.
I want to ask about a few specific things for you, Michael. We're fans of our show are always fascinated by the how does it happen kind of thing. There's all this stuff with the car where Claire, Steve, and Valerie and David go driving, right? And David races it to 100 miles an hour or something like that. He just inherited a whole bunch of money. How do you do something like that? I guess fans love to know things like that.
The car, I'm pretty sure that car did not actually have seatbelts because I don't think seatbelts were in cars.
It would have been lap belts. It would have been lap belts.
Lap belts. I don't even think cars had lap belts. We actually put them in. As I recall, I think we may have put them in that car.
They were an option.
And then I can't remember where we shot it, somewhere out in probably Santa Clarita, which is now all houses and stuff, but it was probably pretty empty back then. And it was probably I don't think we had a whole day to do that. Mm-hmm. We never had a whole day to do anything on that show. Mm-hmm. So it was just a wild, fun day where we just got in the car and, usually you hook up the car to what's called an insert car, which tows the car. And then on the insert car, you have lighting, and that's where the cameras usually are. Or for the side angles, you mount the cars on what's called a hostess tray. I don't mean the cars. You mount the camera on a hostess tray, which is similar to, it's a platform that you put the camera on. And it's just, you do it over and over, just like you would do on stage or on a location. And you just keep switching the camera to wherever you want it. As far as the speed, in a side angle, if you're going like 40 miles an hour, it looks like you're going really super fast. So you don't have to really go that fast to make it look fast. And then if the sound is an issue because it was a convertible, so I do remember conversations with the sound guy who they always would rather that the top is up. And I would say, no, the top needs to be down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
it makes no sense, right? Yeah. They would get this awesome car and keep the top down, right?
Exactly. So that's usually a discussion that you'd have with the sound guy. And then as far as, the speed, that was all sold by the actors, the fear and whatever. And then I actually, it's funny because I got a flashback of how we got the speedometer to look it was going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's an insert. And in those days, the speedometer actually was a cable that would just spin around and make the thing go. And so we hooked, with the prop guy or special effects, hooked a drill to the cable. We disconnected the cable from the motor and you hook a drill to it and you just turn on the drill and it spins the cable.
Just like bad used car salesman.
Exactly.
reset the odometer.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of fun. But that I do remember that was a really fun day to get out there in the middle of nowhere and just shoot the heck out of the sequence. And, the actors all had a great time. And, the scene was just fun. I wanted to say, though, David was so good in that show.
Brian. Yeah.
I mean, Brian. He was so good. He made me hate his guts.
Yeah.
And when he got taken by those two, the women who stole his stuff, I was like, yes, I'm happy that he got, robbed. He was such a jerk in that show. He really did a great job in his performance.
He brought so much at the end of it. You know what I mean? When him and Donna have that really nice scene together. Yep. I wanted to ask you about shooting out that stuff with the two girls, and Larry, you even writing that or Steve writing that stuff with the two girls at the end of the episode that take him.
Yeah, I mean,
it's nothing.
I had worked in Vegas through the 80s and into the early 90s. I was a writer for the Bobby Berasini is performing orangutans. I had used them in a pilot in the early 80s. And I wrote for Monkeys, basically. And I actually directed the show, a little movie that opened the Enter the Night show at the Stardust. But, I worked with Bobby, who's a, fifth generation circus guy. And he had, a performing orangutans. Yeah, it was,
Okay.
anyway, so you
You're
hear stories
familiar with-
you hear stories all the time, and you're around stuff, and I think Steve himself might have experienced something like that, not
That
really
scenario.
that, but
Right.
something like that. And so he said, yeah, that's let's teach him a good lesson for me. And Michael will be happy that he's hurt here, and we just totally make him. It's a reality check which he needed, and I guess I'm not trying to think. I mean, obviously, The Hangover totally exploited that whole situation like that.
Took the concept, right?
Oh yeah. But I mean, I'm just trying to think where. I just don't remember where the idea came from, but I think it came from Steve. I kind of feel certain.
I want to ask you, Michael, all this, Claire's got this great storyline, right? I mean, this is such a great Claire storyline too, that she figures out, she cracks the code at the casino of how to win. I don't know, Larry, what do you think about the Claire storyline when you looked back on it?
Again,
she looks incredible, as I said.
I really enjoy their working together because again, there's this nice comedy. It's not the A or the B story, but it's really it's just bringing some style, and she looks fantastic in every outfit, and it's just some fun. I mean, just we get a chance to see her a little bit out of her lane a bit, being with some abandon, believing something that's not scientific, and yet it's working.
Speaking of people leaving and then coming back, I just want to show Allison some of these pictures that we have here. Right, very cool stuff. At that time also, Larry, you guys bring back Jamie, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to play that interview in a little bit with Zachary Throne, who gave us some really good insight into Jamie and what was happening then. But I wanted to ask you about, how does that decision come into play? Obviously, he left not in a great way, right? But
we have to ask Professor Weiss of teen dramology when the last time we had seen Jamie was, because this is season 7 now, and I can't, I didn't research.
It had to be somewhere.
Season 6. It was season 6.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Thank you. Yeah, you're graduating from that school.
I checked IMDb.
I think, look, we really like.
He's the dean of admissions.
We love Jamie, what he brought to the show and stuff. So I think it was an opportunity to kind of, bring him back in a good way. That everyone's going there to see his show and stuff, and it was just something we wanted to do, where everyone kind of respects what he's done, and so we can kind of let him walk away clean, and that's what we wanted to happen.
Michael,
I wish we'd had more music, but it was fun seeing some rock and roll, and our friend Zach Throne, who of course had appeared as the radio station head who gives David methamphetamine and starts him as an addict in his freshman year, it plays in Jamie's band, as we're going to find out. He actually plays and tours with Jamie, so he's in the band.
That in a minute, but for Michael, directing, now there's another thing, right, that you have to direct. You have to direct a rock concert at the casino, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about doing that, working with Jamie. I mean, I'm sure you had probably directed him in some other episode prior to, so you were familiar with him. And this is like he's returning home. And I think you guys did that really great, the way you presented him. Like, I know as a fan watching, I was just like, yeah, oh God, it's so great. Ray's here. You know what I mean? So you do it really well. I even actually want to compliment you, Michael, because
and he's successful.
I love the way the camera moves in the casino too. You know what I mean? Like it feels like you're in the casino. So I'll ask you about that in a second, but working with Jamie again and shooting the music stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved shooting music, and that was one of the other great parts of doing 90210, is that there was almost always some music in the show. But he's a musician himself, so I don't have to, he knows what to do, which makes it a lot more fun, and you can do a lot more interesting things when you have an actual musician playing. So, it's just, I mean, I think I had on that show, they would usually give me this piece of equipment called a techno crane, which allowed you to, it's sort of a long, it's a sort of telescoping crane. So you can go from, they have various sizes. So because this was interior, it was probably only a 20-foot crane. So you can put the camera in very cool places. It's especially great for filming any kind of music. Because you can get behind the musicians and see the audience, and you can push through and do all kind of cool things. So it's always fun shooting music. And like I said, with Jamie being a musician, it made it a lot, I was going to say easier. It's never easy, but
Right.
it made it more fun.
And in terms of the casino and shooting out some of the interiors of all that stuff, was there something that you were inspired by as a director that you saw casino wise, or is it just natural instincts of having done it before?
It's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I noticed one thing I did notice in this episode was there was a lot of handheld shots.
Yes.
Which is, when the camera's not on a dolly or on sticks, which I think was pretty unusual for that show. For that show in general, we were not encouraged to do handheld. But I think I wanted it to feel, because of where David was in his character,
Mhm.
I wanted it to have a sort of a little bit of a disorienting feeling to it. So I don't think I used it that much in the other scenes, but with all of Brian's scenes, I think they were all pretty much shot with handheld, just so it was, like I said, a little bit weird for the audience to feel the camera kind of doing this movement all the time.
Unsteady Brian.
Yeah, unsteady.
Unsteady David, yeah.
And it gives an interesting
Really nice.
energy. Plus, it also allows the actor to do more spontaneous stuff, and you can stay with him or her more easily with the handheld.
Allison, were you a fan of 90210? Did you know of the show prior to coming on it? I'm sure you knew of it, but was it like, sometimes we have people on that knew the show, and walking on the Peach Pet set is a big deal, or going on the into the Walsh House set is really cool. Any of that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was iconic in its time, and it was certainly as a working actor, I think you just wanted to, when all those popular shows are on TV, or when any popular show's on TV, you just want to be someone who, you're like, oh yay, there's, I'm right for something in that show. So I'm trying to think if I ever auditioned to be one of the regulars, but I don't think so. Sometimes that happens where you're like, you auditioned originally and the show goes on for like 9 years and you're not in Friends. Like that. So, I was around for that whole era of, my generation's magic years of television. So yeah, I was super excited to be on it. It was iconic and smack right in my age group of.
You also did I want to ask you, this is not about 90210. You also did another iconic show in the West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your, I don't know, just sharing some experiences on that show. You were in 11 episodes of that. It was really great. I mean, I loved your character in that. Good memories from doing the West Wing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like a Pollyanna, but I could not have better things to say about that experience. It was magical at first, to being in the pilot. It was, you kind of felt this surge of magic going on, even before it hit the air, and the hope and promise of new good things like that. And everybody, it's a bunch of theater actors and doing crazy walk and talk shots that now are like, famous, but at the time seemed exhilarating because it was so new. And Rob was just hands down one of the hardest working. He is Sam Seaborn is just, I think he did an incredible job. Every time I worked with him, I was blown away by how prepared he was and flexible with intonation, and didn't really set into, anything, even though he always had a bear of words. He knew them backwards and forwards. And yeah, it was a blast. And all those people are still, in my life and good friends, and just monsters of talent for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Erin, anything else that you may have?
For Allison, or just in general about the show?
Generally speaking, yeah.
I noticed some of the comments on the promo were talking about liking Val with David in this episode. So I was wondering what everyone's take was on that. And there's also a good moment with Val and Donna at the end, I think, where, you know, she says he's up in our room, and then Donna's, you know, in what room is our room?
Yeah, Larry, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, this is Valerie's the adult in the episode. It's kind of a good switcheroo.
Yeah,
because she's the most wanton of everybody. So yeah, I kind of like that, and I like the thought of look, Brian and Tiffany were a couple when we made a mistake, Allison. We cast a couple who then broke up. So because it's hard doing that television show, for the actors and everybody. It's just a miracle every time, these things happen, or magic does happen. But yeah, I mean, just in Valerie's character, it was just a chance, because she does care about David. She does care about herself, but so it was a chance to have a little bit of fun there and have them together and give a little hint that something might happen. And instead, David, picks up hookers. Roll.
A little bit different.
Should have just stayed in bed, man. Like, didn't have to go to that casino.
The other thing, Larry, we have to talk about is this is the start of Steve stealing Brandon's paper.
Yeah, a little bit, we were setting up, again, in doing shows like this, we always believed in vertically integrating our characters. Set friendships against, challenge, leverage, that's, in the long range, what you have to do to keep things alive. And so, it's senior year now, and everyone's going to graduate on time. And Steve is, Claire's got high expectations for him. He's going to graduate, and so he's under pressure. I haven't seen the episodes before in like 30 years, so I'm not quite positive what happened there. But obviously, Brandon wrote a paper, and Steve's putting his name.
We'll cover it. We're going to cover it.
And Muntz, and our friend Ryan Thomas Brown, who plays Muntz in many episodes for us, and we dearly love, is picking up that episode. So we kind of set that in motion again, because the show. We believe the shows had to have a standalone story that just, if someone's just watching it, but also, carry the water, carry the elements we need that are building the show up. Because this is a show, as we used to say in the 70s, with a memory, as opposed to a show without a memory. In other words, we're building storyline. And so, then that's going to pay off, in a couple of episodes when, we've got to challenge that relationship with Steve and Brandon.
To cover that.
And again, it's a Steve characteristic to kind of, take an easy route if you have to. Sometimes it's, he's got a good justification for it, but he does it.
I am going to say goodbye to Allison and Erin. We will play that clip of Zachary Throne talking. Larry and I will stick here. And Michael, you want to hang, listen to the clip, you're welcome to. But I'm going to say goodbye to them. We will come back and talk
about
good
to see you, Allison. It's a pleasure.
Nice seeing you, Allison.
Erin, happy
Good to
New York.
see you guys. Thanks for all your hard work on television and making it so great.
Yeah, it's been fun looking back at this. This is, it's been fun for us, reconnecting with people as like yourself as well.
Thank you.
Just want to say you're really lovely in this episode, and I love you in the West Wing, and you're just so talented from a very young age, and just think the world of you. So thank you for spending some time here.
So disciplined as a 10-year-old, man. You must have sisters beating it into you or something.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
All right, good seeing you. I'm going to play this clip, and we'll be back in a minute to talk more about America's Zip Code.
Good to see you, both of you.
Dude, it's awesome, man. How are you?
I'm really good. How you guys doing?
Good.
So this was interesting because we were covering this episode. It's later on in the series, and you're back, but you're not as Howard. How did that all take place for you? How did you get a call to come back and play with Jamie?
Well, from what I remember, Jamie and I were touring a lot. He had asked when he got the deal with Atlantic, and Hold On was a hit. We made a record, his first record, and then we had done a lot of live. We did a lot of live appearances as the Heights.
So you were with Jamie all the way back when he recorded that first record.
Well, because they were friends on the Heights. They both were on the Heights.
That's right. Yeah. That's super cool, man.
And what did you play in the record? What
I played Larry, you're gonna love this. I played guitar and bass on some things, and I did a lot of backing vocals. The single was big, and he was singing it on the show, and
Right.
we had gotten like this cool little Simon and Garfunkel kind of act together from the Heights, because eventually the Heights, Fox or Aaron Spelling would just send me and him out.
Mm-hmm.
So we could play live, and we just had 2 acoustics, and we would do all the songs live, and we got a good little duo thing happening. So when he was going out to promote this, he goes, "Do you want to just keep doing that?" And I said, "Of course." So we were doing a lot of personal appearances all over the world acoustically, as well as with a full band. So we were tight. And from what I remember, they wanted to bring his band on the show.
Right.
So Ray Pruitt had an actual band, and I was working as an actor. I was working on a show called Party of Five at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was acting in that, and I wasn't available to do the first couple of episodes where he had a backing band. And I don't know who asked for me. Someone asked for me. It might have been Priestley, or it might have been Jamie, and he said, "You know what, it would be better." And it might have been Steve Tyrell, and they were just like, "It'd be really cool if Zach sang and played guitar in this." And then I said, "Yeah, but I was already on the show. It was Howard, and I look like this." So I said, "How's that going to work?" And I had grown like this really dumb goatee, like the only goatee I know how to grow, which is terrible.
It works though, man. Like like
Pete didn't know.
So you were tight with Jamie the whole time. So when he left the show, I'm sure he told you about that was happening, right? What
yeah.
That he's talked to us. I'm not speaking out of turn. He told us about how difficult that was for him.
It was a lot, because it was, it seemed overnight that his tenure in the show was over, not for anything that he had done.
Nope.
There were serious repercussions about the story arc of Ray Pruitt. Funny enough, on the road, when we would go on the road, and if I'm sure he's told you stories of fans holding up signs saying "Leave Donna alone" and things like that. I haven't
heard that one.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't hear it from me. Yeah, it was. People took it very to heart, because people were so close to all of these characters, and especially Tori.
Yeah,
they're very protective of her, and so that storyline carried over into his singing career.
And then you look into the crowd and you see this Donna sign. You must be like, "What the fuck is happening here?" Like,
I was like, he got a script. It says to do this. He did it. He did it great, because it convinced all of you,
right? Yeah.
So you can't get mad at him because you're a fan of the show,
right?
But it really actually more illustrates how close people were to this show and these characters, and you can't mess with them. That was when his storyline ended, and his tenure ended. It kind of all happened real quick, and I was just beside myself trying to help him, because that's a lot. It was a lot of things were coming to a close for a good friend of mine, and you feel powerless. But I was there with him. We kept going out and playing, and he took it really good, though. I mean, it was really tough for him, though. It was a real tough time.
Ask you about, so you come back and you're doing the show. Was it like old times catching up with everybody? I think I don't know where they shot all that stuff. Do you know where they shot that? We were trying to figure it out. The
Vegas band.
That was at the Hollywood Casino. The Hollywood
Casino. Yeah,
Hollywood in Inglewood.
Casino. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
That was the first one I did. It was awesome. It was like I never left. It was, it's a family, and sort of like having a cousin you just haven't seen in a couple of Thanksgivings or whatever. Now you show up again, but no, it was great. Everybody was sweet, and it felt like I had never stopped.
Really nice stuff there from Zach, right, Larry? Yeah.
Oh, I love Zach. Yeah, I hang out with him when I go to Vegas. It's a lot of fun. He's playing bass for the Divas of Rock and Roll right on the Strip.
Okay, so I just want to again remind everybody to please. We're looking for those 2 states, and Wyoming and Montana. Contact us here at Peter at Beverly Hills Show. Got it. It's on the screen. Peter at Beverly Hills 90210show.com. And look, man, we're really excited. October 6th is just around the corner. It's going to be a huge show. Larry, we're going to do a big super preview show next week. But tell me, what are you looking for?
Again, it's a whole month. October is the Festival of Fans.
That's right.
That's what I'm looking at, because we're doing America's Zip Code on October 6th. October 13th, we have the Peach Pit After Dark Live, which is a fans-only event, very casual event. Bring a significant other.
We're going to rewatch the Super Show. We're going to rewatch. And
then after that, the next 2 weeks, I haven't totally cleared it with my co-friends Chuck and Pete, but I think we're going to do a 2-parter story slam. Scripts have been written.
That's right.
But which you've never seen, moments in the show which never happened, little radio plays have been done, which were inspired by the winners of the Story Slam contest. And Chuck and I both have our hands in that. We've got to revisit these characters again and put them down on our computer. It was pretty amazing. Chuck, I think he's gone off on a whole other world thinking about it.
He's like 1990 something.
I know, he's really happening. And it's great. And everything is good. So that's the whole month is a celebration of the premiere, the 31st anniversary of the premiere of Beverly Hills 90210.
Brian, our friend Brian calls it Oktoberfest 90210 style.
Now, Brian Armand composed the theme for American Zip Code, which we're going to be putting our promo together with. It's fantastic. And we're going to be able to not get bounced off of YouTube for a copyright infringement.
When we did the super or one of the shows that we did, Chuck demanded we need to have Connor play Rome by the B-52s.
Oh, that stopped the show, right? Yeah. We tried that. Yeah, good luck on Connor's new album. Right? Yeah, there's so much good stuff happening. But yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. And thank you, Brian Armand, for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun when we see that. Yeah, we have to put that show together this week. We need a little meeting on that.
We're going to.
Gonna be good.
No, maybe we'll do the meeting. We'll do the meeting live on
Patreon. Allison and Erin. So it was a wonderful way to spend my pre-dinner time.
Guys, listen, if you want to be a part of next week's show and you want to join the Patreon, you want to sneak right through the zip code process, patreon.com/Beverly Hills 90210 show, and you will be on next week's show when we're covering who are the greatest couples. Okay, man, this has been great, Larry. Good seeing you as always. I am now going to sing karaoke at I'm not going to say where. So.
I urge you to sing some Leonard Skinner.
For you, I will. Yeah, simple man. All right, man. Good seeing you, and we will be back next week.